working, I hope. Real quick, in the beginning. Um, a lot of people don't realize, but the most important thing is getting behind first gate. So you do not want to waste a lot of time uh, doing nothing in here. So moment you zone in, if there wasn't like any gankers, whatever, is just fucking start. Wasting time is never good in the beginning, unless something special happened. I think this is a pretty early dungeon into the server as well, but I should be fine. Yeah, once again, like, don't waste a lot of time in the beginning, start immediately. Um, I'm gonna start really basic, but stacking passive is really important. Your fourth passive on hammer takes 4 auto attacks and increases your CC duration by 35%. So usually you want to get off 1 auto attack and then use Great Arcane on a single mob, so you can stack up the passive in time. You can watch me right now. I stack up 1, 2, 3, 4th passive, and then I stun. That's just the basics on how. Now you always want to pay attention to the mob. It's kind of not. Maybe I take a different word. But now, if you were the raid leader, you'd see your hammer stun at the top of the list. It will be the first debuff. Your hammer stun. Depending on if you have Bridgewatch Cape or if you used Hunter Shoes or anything like the passive, the stun takes longer than usual. So you'll have to call for Great Arcane delayed. There's always going to be different CC timers. You'll basically never call for silence at the same time, simply because of all of those modifiers. But yeah, always pay attention. First debuff will always be your hammer stun. When the hammer stun is about to run out, you will need to call for one hand arcane. Also, a lot of new raid leaders that do their first raid don't know, but you have to stun before CC runs out. So your Great Arcane drops. Great Arcane will also be one of the first debuffs. Before the Great Arcane runs out, you actually already have to press your E, not when Great Arcane runs out. I see it happen all the time. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Just kill it. You see the hammer stun here. That's the hammer stun. That's how it looks. And when it's about to run out, this will probably already be too late. You will call for a silence, as happened here. It's also really important if you play with one-hand arcane that your one-hand arcane always uses his guardian armor. I see it happen way too many times where the one-hand arcane thinks, oh, I don't have to pop guardian armor, there's only 2 mobs alive. But most DPS they only bring a 4.3 armor, so they would die instantly if you do not immediately use guardian armor. That's why it's also fine to use silence even sooner than your stun would run out, so that when the mobs are actually auto-attacking, there's already a guardian armor on the mobs. I can't really explain much for this pull. Some people might know this is the 6 wizard pull at the end. It's a simple pull, really. So let me explain quickly what goes through or what should go through a raid leader's head when you see a pull like this. So you have 2 mobs. Those 2 mobs are already clumped, so there's no need to put them on a ring or anything. It's also the 2 same mobs. It's 2 fucking wizards, which means they have the same auto attack range. It's basically 2 identical mobs. So there's nothing special required. It's also range mobs. They don't do anything. If they're being aggro, they just stand still until you go out of the auto attack range. So all you want to do, it's actually being done wrong here, but you usually want to walk in, auto attack once, and then have Great Arcane uses Great Arcane so you can stack passive up again. But it's 2 mobs that die fucking quick. You don't need to stack up passive because you have Iron Roots and they just die instantly.
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding one-hand arcane, when you call for one-hand arcane, do they also pop their guardian armor? So when you call for silence,
Yes, when you
is
call
it
for silence,
and
they
armor?
should use their Guardian Armor. And if they don't, you tell them. But yes, usually all one-hand arcanes know that if you just call for silence, they're also supposed to use your Guardian Armor. But if you see them not do it, just tell them.
Right.
Alright, it's sucks that it's not off my POV. Wait, let me. Does anybody have a different VOD? I could find horrible ones, but I really want a like decent rate. Does anybody have a better VOD we could use?
I
Quickly.
mean, I have a better VOD, but it's like from over 2 months ago,
Oh, that's
so
fine.
it's
That's
not
fine.
gonna be a really good,
Yeah, that's fine.
a good rate.
Maybe let me find a different one as well quickly.
I have Wall Sims POV. He like sits next to the radiator always.
Nah, I don't really want one. I want one out of the Radiator POV. Let me quickly search for one. Wait, am I releasing my Discord? No, good. Quickly. I guess
It's a
we'll use
really
it.
old one, so if you
Yeah,
wanna use
it's
it, it's
fine
okay,
enough, I
but
guess. It works
just
for pulls.
forewarning,
Yeah.
I got better.
Okay. Alright. Ah, perfect. Same exact pull. So yeah, you see here, he stacks up his passive. This is the passive that you'll need to watch out for. This stack. Yeah, he auto-attacks twice, which is also fine, but you only need to auto-attack once before Crater Cane lands. Okay, Crater Cane is sleeping. Now he has 3 stacks. Crater Cane happens. Here you see the Crater Cane, and here you see your 3 passive stacks. Now you wait before you gain the 4th passive, because the passives only last for 2 seconds. You gain 4th passive, which is this thing. Crater Cane is still on, as you see here. And this is when you want to stun. Yeah, that's about it for standard simple pulls. It goes slightly faster. Alright. Once again, just a quick explanation on how a raid leader thinks during pulls. This is 2 melee mobs. They immediately start moving when you aggro them. So all that you need to do is walk in and auto attack to gain your passive stack. Have arcane, use arcane. Once again, this arcane is kind of late. You really only need to wait for 1 passive. Because if anything aggros these monks, they'll just dash away. So yeah, gain your passive stacks. Wait until Crater King is about to run out. Kirito waits a really long time. You don't have to wait as long as he does to gain the last passive stack, so your passive procs. You can be really, a lot sooner than that. But yeah, that is the standard rotation. You just gain 4 auto attack stacks and you stun before Arcane runs out. Yeah, once again, stun is about to run out. You want to call for silence. This was a really late silence. So Guardian Armor did not affect the first wave of auto attacks, which in an 8.3 can already cause deaths. Not on a pull like this, but on usual pulls. If you see your 1 in Arcane ever using something late, just call it out. That's about it. Yeah, little bit more difficult pull. You can either cross this with an off tank or do it by yourself, but yeah, it's pretty easy explained. You have a 1 melee, you need to bring the melee to one side, and you have 1 range on each side. You need to bring one of the range from each side to another side. It's most simple being done by off tank crossing. But yeah, also what a lot of people don't know in this pull. If you aggro the Acolyte when it's in that corner, because it's very close to the monk, you will aggro everything, so be aware of that for almost every pull, because crossing does not work perfectly. Acolytes are cool, because they move, they stop standing to cast a spell after a short period, but after they're done with it, they will move. So what he should have done here is use the Crater Cane or call for the Crater Cane right now, catch these 2 mobs, they would have been caught, this Acolyte will cast its spell and also move into the pull, and it would have been fine. But Arcane was way too late, so it didn't went well. Here priorities is done the monk, because the monk is the most annoying mob. And if you see the monk running away because it didn't get arcaned, always tell your party to just move into the pool. You see all of these people that are not moving into the pool. Because of them, the monk gets delayed a lot, and you might have not been able to catch it. Also, your hammer has pretty big range, so make sure you position yourself in the middle of pulls. Here, Kirito is way too close to Acolytes, and he might miss the monk, when he could have been like here, positioned, and he would have easily hit everything. But it was lucky, because he still hit. Because hammer range is pretty big. should have called for air compress here, but it's fine. Air compress was too late. Silence, once again too late. Also really important, the mob that you click on, you will see the CC timer. Let me show you. So here he's on an Acolyte. Acolytes have a lot less CC resistances than a Monk. So you'll see the timer on an Acolyte is always way longer than the timers on a Monk. So in a pull like this, you want to click onto the Monk so that you see the Monk's CC timer, because his stun is going to run out the soonest. So you see Monk runs out way sooner, but he's on Acolyte. Now you need to call for silence. Silence happens way too late, it happens now. And then you just kill it. Your usual rotation, if you use one-hand Arcane, is Create Arcane, Hammer Stun, one-hand Arcane, Hammer Stun, Create Arcane, one-hand Arcane, Hammer Stun. But honestly, as long as you CC it, it doesn't really matter which rotation you use. Yeah, that's a pretty easy pull. Pretty boring one. Okay. This pull is pretty simple. You have a Monk to the northeast. He does correct here. You just want to aggro all bolts. Once again, we're collecting mobs that can be air compressed, and we're pulling, just like in the last pull, we're pulling mobs together, ranged mobs that can be air compressed towards a melee mob. So you just collect bolts that are ranged. We go to the mobs that can't be air compressed, which in this case is the archer, and we want to bring everything to the mob that cannot be air compressed. Here you could have also stayed closer to the archer. The bolts have really close auto attack ranges, so that it always pretty much move on top of you. Yeah, you wanna pretty much quickly stun so that the bolts don't kill anyone through auto attacks. So you go in here. Your Create Arcane's goal, which you wanna tell him, is only to catch Monk and the archer. You don't really care about the bolts. You want to catch them. And now the moment you can hit everything, like all bolts and all monks, is when you already want to stun. That way no DPS dies to auto attacks. So you should have stun a lot sooner here. Wait for the air compress call, so that the monk can be air compressed as well, and then just air compress it together. This is what most pulls will look like, or the majority of the pulls, where you have ranged mobs and you have a melee mob. The problem with monks especially is that they, like, immediately after they're being taunted, they already start running. So in order to usually clump monks properly with any range mob, is use ring immediately when you start to pull. So here you go to aggro. You want to immediately ring down and jump as far as possible so that the ranged mobs group up with the non-ranged mobs. Yeah, once again, you look at Arcane Timer. You cannot stack passive here because you were close to the pull. You drop stun, and then you often can air compress the monk in, which he probably has some cooldown. And yeah, that's about it. You call for silence. We'll see. Let me see. Here, you see the silence. The silence can sometimes disappear, like it does here. But the debuff bar always shows the debuff that is closest to run out. So when your silence is about to run out, here it appears again. Now it's gonna be on your screen. Okay, here was kind of unlucky, but here it is again. You will always see it when it's about to run out, and it's when you either want to call for Create Arcane again, or when you want to stun again. Here, he should have called for Create Arcane because the stun is not ready yet.
Which mobs are not compressible?
Which mobs are not compressible? Knight, the one with the shield. Warrior, the one with the double maces. Mages, spellweavers, priestesses. Yeah, I think that's it. Those are the mobs that can't be air compressed. And archers. Yeah, that should be it. Yeah. I usually go by white mobs can't be air compressed, but spearmans and priests can't be air compressed. Yeah, here, once again, this knight, for example, can't be air compressed, but a monk can be air compressed. This is also a good example. What most people don't know. Sadly, you have one mob, or you have two melee mobs, but there's a difference here. a monk is a melee mob that immediately starts moving once it's aggroed. A knight is a melee mob that waits. Like the knight you will see here, he will never move. He will always do his double sword, his double shield tap before he starts moving. So in order to basically clump anything that has a knight, you wanna walk on top of the knight instead of walking on top of the monk. Because if you'd walk like south here, the monk would start walking towards you, but the knight would just stay in his position. So in order to like perfectly clump this, which isn't really recommended or needed, but you would go in from the east, because the monk would start walking towards the knight. There's examples of pulls where this is actually becoming useful, and it's important to make the pull work properly. Here it's just bonus, because you'll always have iron roots in your party, and those iron roots will always be on the knockback W. So if you don't clump them up perfectly exactly, you see it happen here. The monk gets knocked away. And if you get more iron roots, use your W, you get more realm breakers, use your E. This monk will always get knocked further away, and eventually won't be close enough for crossbows or frost to hit. So just go in from the east and clump them up perfectly, and then it doesn't really matter. Alright, here's a pretty cool pull, which pretty much explains what I was gonna say last pull. You have 3 range mobs. Those range mobs will immediately start moving. But you also have 2 knights. Those knights, once they're aggroed, they do not start moving. They're still in place for 2 to 3 seconds. So I think he does this with off tank, sadly. But the way I do this pull to clump it perfectly, you want to aggro this acolyte and position yourself south here. And then you do nothing. You just aggro this and do nothing. Because those knights, they do not start moving. So why would you move if they don't move? Those are the only mobs you want to clump up. As well as a Spellweaver. So you'd aggro this acolyte, and you would wait. You wait about 2 seconds in this position, and then you drop down a ring right underneath this acolyte's feet. The moment you drop that ring, you walk back. Why do you walk back? Because you want the Spellweaver to clump. But now, since you waited, also those knights will immediately start moving. Now, all of them will start moving, and they'll all clump up perfectly on a ring that is positioned here. If you would do the same, but you would immediately drop down your ring and start walking back, the ring would already disappear when those knights start moving. That's why it's important on pulls where you have delayed mobs like a knight or a spearman that don't immediately start moving. You have to wait before you put down your ring. But yeah, if you want to do this the simple and lazy way, and also not clumped way, you can just tell your off tank to go and air compress, which he does here. Works, but you see this clump is quite horrible. And you will have shit expos, you will have shit frost in your party. So if pulls aren't perfectly clumped, those shitty frosts and shitty expos, they will miss. You can see this one-hit frost here, for example, who uses his E back here. He misses probably this knight and this acolyte. And I don't think his Qs can even reach this knight as well. So you always have shit players like this guy here. So in order to avoid shit players like this doing no damage, it's important to clump up pulls. Here Silence Call was too late. Once again, always your stun will always be your first debuff. And this is about the time when you want to call for a silence. This is about the time when you want to call for silence. That way Silence can drop his E. And that way Silence can also use his armor in time before they start casting. Because now there's no silence, there's no guardian armor. It will hurt, and it will do a lot of damage. I see a lot of raid leaders panic when something goes wrong, like it does here. Just CC them again. Don't panic, it's all fine. You fucked up, can't change it now. Just go back in and stun the pull, like he does here. And then you just go back to your normal rotation. Now use Great Arcane again. When it's about this time, you'd call for Great Arcane. Great Arcane uses Great Arcane. You'd wait 4 seconds, you call for silence. And that's it. Don't panic when something goes wrong. You cannot fix it. It went wrong, that's fine. Just do it correct now. Boring pull. We had it already. Yeah, cross pulls. Do them, they're good, but make sure you explain enough. Tell your off tank what you want him to do. Explain it properly. So here say, off tank, I want you to take the southeast pull. You could even mark the mob if you don't believe your off-tank is smart enough, you could mark this mob and tell him to cross with you. And also give him exact instructions, like say, I want you to walk northeast, straight from where you pulled this, to the other side where the other mobs are standing right now. That's where I want you to go. Don't just tell him, go northwest, because if he's shit, he doesn't know what you want him to do. So yeah, you tell him where to cross, clump it up, you create Arcane. Probably most important thing that new raiders do wrong is they create Arcane too late. So what would have happened here, if you called for create Arcane too late, is that they walk past each other and they won't be clumped. So it's always important, especially on cross pulls, that you call for soon create Arcanes. Sometimes in certain pulls you won't actually see where the pull is, like it's off your screen. You just need to realize and remember how fast certain mobs move, so that you can create Arcane them. They don't have to be on your screen in order for you to call the create Arcane. Most mobs in this game move really quickly, so you can also call for quick create Arcanes. Also, your create Arcane is a human being. He does not instantly react to everything you say, so the sooner you call it, the better, because he has more time to react to it. They are also, most of the time, not retarded, so if you would call for it way too early for some reason, they might not use it anyways, because they see like, okay, there's no clump, why would I create Arcane? But it's also always important that the create Arcane listens to you and does things correctly. But yeah, rather call for create Arcane soon than late. That's the general rule you can go by. Bosses, probably the things most people struggle with because they don't do them, because they skip 1 purples and 2 purples, even though they don't know how to do bosses. So what I recommend every raid leader is to write down all of your swaps. Write down who plays what and for which boss. So that way you can just open I don't know, your fucking document, and you just read out what you want people to bring. You write down what does off-tank swap to, what does Create Arcane swap to, what does One-Hit Arcane swap to, what does my Iron Black Monk swap to, and you just read it out. Because if you're gonna be standing at this boss, and you need to think about, fuck, what do I want my Black Monk to play, what armor, what helmet, you're gonna waste a lot of unnecessary time. So until you get used to it, just write it down and just read it out, what you want people to do. You can also write down how you call for them, etc. For example, I call my off-tank always just as off-tank. So I tell them when I say the word off-tank, I want you to use your defensives. Or I divide my Black Monk into Black Monk 1 and Black Monk 2. So I tell them whenever I say first Black Monk, then the first Black Monk uses his E and his armor. But it's important that they know which call out you give them to use their defensives, and it's important that you always have them on the proper gear that you want them on. That's really it for bosses, and the rest is just on realizing what happens when on Basilisk you divide parties into 2, you have Night Helmet players in each party, and that's about it. Hello, there we go. Basilisk is probably the hardest boss for any raid leader, because you actually need to pay attention to your screen and not just do it, but it's pretty simple. So in this first phase, it's the same as for final. A lot of raid leaders do the thing where they don't call for defensive because nothing is happening yet, but those auto attacks also hurt a lot. So if you want to save your main heal from needing to play good, just drop defensive in this first phase. Also, Incubus increases damage, so anybody with an Incubus, just tell them to use it for now, until Wind Walls happen. It's interesting, I don't think they actually play for Night Helmets, but usually you'd have your party stack up and call for Night Helmets as well. The boss starts roughly at half his first bar gone with Wind Walls, just so you know, when like half the first bar is gone, boss will start calling Wind Walls. You always want to have a defensive on the Wind Wall, can either be your Black Monk or your off-tank. Just make sure you have a defensive on it. You can use Guard Rune for the knockbacks, but yeah, Night Helmets just make it easy. So just have 2 Night Helmet players on each side so they don't get knockbacked. The boss does about 3 auto attacks in between, plus one spell or two spells before you cast the next Wind Wall. So it's always going to be either two spells, two auto attacks, or one spell, three auto attacks before the next Wind Wall. But it also just matches with your Guard Rune cooldown almost perfectly. So whenever your Guard Rune is about to be ready, that's when you can call for the next offensive. So here his Guard Rune is about to get ready again. Now you want to call for next offensive, because now Wind Walls are going to happen again. Your Guard Rune is ready, you can use your Guard Rune. And you should have called for defensive as well. Here pretty weird, he lost aggro for like 1.0 seconds, so the Wind Walls were casted on him. If you do not play dodge roll, well, start doing it. You always want to have a dodge roll on bosses, so that way you can jump through stuff like this. Here he should have died, but he's lucky he didn't. And then you just continue. This boss has two skills. It's the Stunning Breath and the Fire Breath. They're all just easily avoided by stepping to the left side. Or the Stunning Breath can also be avoided by using your Guard Rune. But we'll talk about that more in the second phase. Because in the second phase he actually has this rotation he always follows. So it's pretty simple. Yeah. I mean, unlucky. Just always, on battles, always make sure you have the boss in a straight line. Whenever he's about to cast Wind Walls. That way stuff like this doesn't happen. If you ever have him in this position, your party is basically being denied from spreading a lot in the room because here's a wall. So if you ever have this happen, just use your Soldier Helmet and run straight through the boss to the other side and position him back into the middle. That way your party has enough space to spread. Okay, he actually does it here. Make sure you use Soldier Helmet because you might get unlucky and his tail will knock you back. So make sure you use the Soldier Helmet if you ever change the side. Okay, this spell always is being avoided the same way. So his breath will always go to his right first. So you want to walk out to his right side. And then you will walk back in when his breath is about to come back into the middle. And you press your Soldier Helmet. That's how you avoid the spell, but once again, we'll see it better in second phase. Alright, second phase starts at about when he's 2 bars down. I know you can't really see the bars, but there's usually splits in here. When he's about 2 bars down, he would call for, he would start exploding. Give me a second, wait. I think somebody's awake. Just give me a second. Girlfriend woke up and she wants to join. Good morning, LSQ. Good morning, Elaine. Alright, let's go.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think it's possible to raid lead even with like Down syndrome?
Yes. Even if you have Down
Like,
syndrome, it's possible to
Even
raid
if
lead.
even if I have to look down at my keyboard.
Well, yes. Possible, yes. Difficult, yes. But yeah, once again, best way starts at 2 bars. Make sure you tell your party to spread. Your party is special, so they need to be aware of when to spread. So call it out when he is about 2 bars down. Have 1 defensive assigned to use it on 2 bars. Here it seems to be the off tank. Also, you will have a defensive a lot of times that don't understand how Guardian Armor works. Always tell people if they use their Guardian Armor, they need to stand close to the boss as well, so that the Guardian Armor actually works. Here, I asked it in the last raid leader form. The Basilisk has a bugged rotation. So he usually follows the same rotation when you are entering second phase, which is when the explosion happens. But it can also be bugged. What does that mean? He will do unusual rotation. The usual rotation of Basilisk would be to use this Stunning Breath that he does right here, which you can block by Guard Rune or for the Sterling Cape, as it happened here. He goes back into the Fire Breath, and then he does 2 auto attacks, and he will call for the explosion. But right now, he did a Stunning Breath, he does 1 auto attack, another auto attack, another auto attack, and now he should do Fire Breath. Oh no, he actually immediately does explosion. Okay, good. Perfect example though. So if you ever have bugged rotation on Basilisk, all you need to watch out is how many auto attacks and how many spells does he do. he needs to do 4 different things. It doesn't matter what it is, but it needs to do 4 actions. It can be 1 spell, 3 auto attacks, or it can be 2 spells, 2 auto attacks, or it can be, yeah, it's always gonna be 4 actions. It can also be 1 spell, 3 auto attacks. Whenever he's about to do the 4th thing, whenever he's about to either do the 4th auto attack or of the 4th spell, you want to call for defensive. So that way, the explosion which is gonna happen afterwards is always fully defended. Here it was just barely fully defended. It was right in time. If he didn't use the fire breath, he will eventually use the fire breath, which he does now, and he will do another stunning breath. But yeah, there it is. Now he will always do 3 auto attacks until he does the next big explosion. But since he had a fire breath used right now, he only did 1 auto attack. Defensive was called too early. His guardian arm was gonna run out. If you ever see that happen, like one of your defenses was called too early, just try to call for an extra defensive. Black Monk has a fairly low cooldown, so instead of calling for nothing, you can just ask your Black Monk to use his E. That way, if you call for defensive too early, you still have it fully defended. Yeah, I hope we have normal rotation now. No, we still don't. Once again, if he does the stunning breath, always use your guard rune on top of it, so people don't get stunned. If you ever get stunned, scream for a Fallen Staff. Fallen Staff is a cleanse to use his E on top of you. If you do not get cleansed here, you're gonna die if he does the fire breath. So make sure you always call for a defense, for a Fallen to use his E on you. Otherwise you will die, like he does here. If you ever die, don't panic. Alright, it's really important that you do not panic. First thing you want to do is call for a reawaken on you. The second thing you want to do is pay attention to his rotation. He's about to do his explosion, so it is really fucking important you call for defensive now. Because it doesn't matter that you're fucking dead, but the boss exploding and killing your entire party is what's gonna be most important. So here he called for defensive, but he called it way too late, and his entire party dies due to it, and it's leash. We'll only go to second phase again because I want to see 1 normal rotation. Okay, they died again. Bugged rotation usually only happens for 2 to 3 times before he goes back to his intended rotation. So yeah, we should be intended rotation now. Alright, once again, call for defensives when you see him cast this Cleric Rope debuff. Wait, this one. When he casts this one, he's about to do big explosion. You call for defensives. Defensive worked. Bit too early. Oh no, still in time. Alright, now, you will always start off stunning breath. Always use your guard rune. Awesome. Have the person bring the red debuff to you and tell your defensives so that they don't have to walk out of the room to come into the red debuff or as well so that they leash their debuff. Alright, now always fire breath. Always walk, like you can either do this if you use dodge roll, you can just jump to the opposite side, or just walk into the direction the fire breath goes to, which in this case would be this side. Wait until the fire breath goes to this side, and when the fire breath is about to come back to the middle, press your soldier helmet. You are standing here, fire breath is coming back in from here, you press your soldier helmet, and you walk straight towards the boss, so that he's aligned in the middle and doesn't turn to the side. Or, like Kirito does, just use your boots and jump to the other side. Boss is now going to turn around and perfectly face the middle again. This boss is always important that he faces the middle. Whatever you do, always have this boss face the middle, because if his tail, like if you're near to his tail, he will knock people back. Alright, once again, I want to focus on the rotation now. Which he's gonna do soon after 3 auto attacks. 1, 2, and 3. Now he will do the rotation. Does the Cleric Rope thingy. You need to call for defensives, not too early. Look, perfect example here. Kirito realizes, fuck, I called too early for my Guardian Armor, for my Black Monk. It's gonna run out by the time he actually explodes. But Kirito also realizes, okay, I have my E ready, so I can just use my E, and I'm full defended again. I asked it in the Radiator form as well. the defensive cap is 80%. A Black Monk reduces the defense, increases the defenses by 40%. Incubus is 40% as well. 40 plus 40 is 80%, so it's max defended now, even though the Guardian armor ran out. So this is perfect here, fully defended, everything is fine, because Kirito realizes he called too early. Alright, same rotation now always. Stunning Breath, you use Guard Rune. Have person with red circle, bring red circle to you. Also, your defenses can get the red circle as well. Now, Fire Breath. Either change side, or walk out to this side. And when it's about to come back, like it does now, you see it comes back, you would press your Soldier Helmet to position the boss in a straight line. Boss stays in the middle, nobody gets knocked back. Alright, now it's 2 auto attacks until next big explosion. So the moment he does first auto attack after this Fire Breath, that's when you want to call for defensive. He will do one more auto attack and then explosion. Now he will do one more Stunning Breath. Once again there will be a red circle, have the red circle be brought to you. Stunning Breath happens, and now he will do 3 auto attacks. That hurt quite a lot. If you have extra defenses, I usually use my own E for this. You can defend those 3 auto attacks. Also, during the time that those 3 auto attacks happen, you will have people be affected by their debuff. You can also reduce the damage of this debuff by having a defensive on when it happens. So if you use your own E here, you would reduce the damage that those people take. Alright, same thing. Once again, always. Cleric Robe debuff, call for defensive, and then that's it. That's how every single boss works, just that they do different things. But every single boss has the same fucking rotation that he will always do over and over. You just have to call for defensives, and you kind of need to watch out for your own gameplay in order to dodge things. But you as a raid leader, all you do is dodge things and taunt. You don't even have to use your own E, you don't even have to use Guard Rune, you don't have to use a Q. As long as you taunt and dodge and call, that's all that's needed from you. You don't have to play the game, the party does that for you. You are just here for the callouts. You need to be the one to call things out. If you don't call things out, people die. Your own gameplay does not matter. But your callouts do. Let's skip this. Boring. No one cares.
What's the exact rotation for Buzzy? Is it 3 autos, then 1 ability, and then 3 autos, 1 ability over and over?
No, the exact rotation. He has 2 different rotations because he has first and second phase. But in second phase, his rotation, if it's not bugged, is always going to be Stun Breath, Fire Breath, 2 auto attacks. Oh, like, wait, let's go back. He does his big explosion. That's when his rotation starts. Big explosion that you need to defend. After big explosion, it is Stun Breath, Fire Breath, 2 auto attacks, next explosion. Stun Breath, 3 auto attacks, and then we start again with the big explosion. That's always the same rotation. He might sometimes also do Fire Breath, Stun Breath instead of Stun Breath, Fire Breath, but that rarely ever happens. It depends on your DPS, how fast they are. Boring. Bird Pulse. Pretty easy. All you need to do is catch him quickly enough. We'll see how Kirito does it, and I'll tell you what he does wrong or correct. Alright, he does it correct. I also love to do this, is you aggro the mob with a ring. You can either, there's 2 things you can do on Bird Pulse. You either ring first, taunt immediately and jump back, or you aggro them through the ring, jump back and arcane immediately. But the most important thing is you catch it quickly. Here, arcane way too late, so he should have arcaned now. Now is when you want to call. Now is when you want to say arcane, because the spell reader moves quickly. She moves in instantly, and the arcane should have already been here, but it wasn't. Big mistake here from Kirito. Birds suck, so if your Crater King does not hit in time, you need to use your Soldier Helmet smart. Especially if you play Hunter Shoes. So here Kirito almost takes no damage. It's only 1 spell reader attacking him right now, but he wastes his Soldier Helmet for no reason. Why did he do that? Nobody knows. But now, the bird casts walls, and those walls are gonna knock him back. So if he uses Soldier Helmet now instead, he could have just walked through this wall in a straight line, and he could have stunned. Instead, he wasted his Soldier Helmet on one auto attack, and now he could stun because he actually did well at dodging the wind wall. But yeah, it was unnecessary to play well when all you could have done is just delay your Soldier Helmet. We probably won't see it here, but also, also a big problem with Soldier Helmets. Okay, let me explain. Why is this Soldier Helmet a bad Soldier Helmet anyways? He has no damage taken. He's full HP, but he already uses Soldier Helmet. For the main healer cannot do anything right now. He cannot heal him. He has no HP loss. There's nothing the main healer can heal right now. So what you want to do is you want to take damage as much as possible, go down almost to one bar, and then use Soldier Helmet. That gives the main healer the ability to actually heal you. So you basically have 2 bars of HP. There's gonna be a lot of pulls, like here for example maybe as well. Yeah, look, his Soldier Helmet ends, but he still takes damage, even though Crater King was on and he had a Soldier Helmet, so he still takes damage. If you do 8.3s especially, Soldier Helmet usage is really important. So you always want to drop down as low as possible so that your main healer can full heal you. So you basically have 2 full HP bars instead of just having 1 HP bar, because now, since he uses Soldier Helmet so early, main healer can put any heal into him. He basically only has 1 HP bar instead of having 2. I hope there's gonna be a pull where I can explain this better. But there probably won't be because it's a low tier dungeon, I suppose. Boring pull.
Was the silence late, or why did all the...
Yeah, silence was late. Which is also a product of having the bird cast his waltz because Arcane was too late. Because your silence is always shit. It's usually done by shit players. They will always get knocked. So that's why it's important to catch a bird quickly. That way you have enough time for your silence to use silence and not be knocked by waltz. Alright. Why is this pull sucks? For multiple reasons. Your off-tank can air compress the spearman to this mage, but the air compress is not far enough to like really clump it well. And you also don't want to walk in on this because the spearman is so fucking slow. Look, you see, he starts tapping the floor and then he wastes so much time. And if anybody from your party attacks the spearman now, he will probably overtake your aggro and the spearman will just run east and not give a shit about you. So this is just a good example of melee mobs that walk delayed suck. So it's always important to tell your party to not attack before Arcane. Because if anybody, in this example especially, attacks before Arcane, the whole pull gets fucked. Always tell people to not attack before Arcane. Really important. Otherwise, so many pulls go wrong. Here, another bird pull. He does what I said before. He starts off with a ring, really good. He immediately taunts after the ring happened. Immediately ring, taunt, and also immediately jump back. So why? This priestess has a pretty fucking high auto attack range. If you don't immediately jump back after aggroing her, so that you create as much range between you and the priestess as possible, she's not gonna move. So by being really quick, like putting ring down, immediate taunt, and immediate shoes, this priestess actually starts moving instead of just being AFK and trying to auto attack you. You can see it here, she immediately starts moving, and you actually can throw a quick Crater Cane. A lot of raid leaders, when they put down their ring, they wait, they taunt, they don't immediately pop shoes. It's all so slow, and it's really bad. Since most of you are probably gonna use hunter shoes, if you'd use hunter shoes here, you would use ring, now pop shoes, and then taunt. Shoes will be more important here on hunter shoes, because you can pre-pop them since they last 3 seconds anyways. So it's more important to immediately use hunter shoes and then be able to walk right back out of the priestess auto attack range, instead of having the priestess be AFK on top here for so long. Once again, Arcane Call way too late. Another horrible Soldier Helmet, so he gets knocked. Once again, I told you guys, always drop low. the later you use your Soldier Helmet, the better. This is such a bad Soldier Helmet, and what so many people do because they just want to block auto attacks. Always wait. He hasn't lost any HP. He's not gonna die to anything here. So why does he use Soldier Helmet? There's no reason. He should have used it like now. He could have walked in. He could have avoided this knockback from the monk. He could have avoided the walls from the bird. Instead, he just gets knocked and he has to leash the pull because you can't fix this. Also, perfect example. He did it really well here. If something is going wrong and you cannot stun for whatever reason, always call for a one-hand arcane. Also, rather try to fix a pull than leash a pull if it's possible to be fixed. This pull is really easy fixed. I told you before earlier, whenever there's a monk roaming around in your party, make sure you tell your party to walk close to the pull, and then you could have stunned everything. Right now here we have the problem that is Einroot, he just stood still, so the monk is just continuously roaming around in the backline and you cannot damage him. Instead he should have told his party to all just move to the priestess and he would have perfectly clumped it up again. But yeah, always try to fix pulls. If you cannot stun for whatever reason, always call for a silence. Fixing pulls usually takes less time than leashing them and redoing them, which is why I don't want to leash them. Most of the time what happened here. Arcane too late. Alright, monks. Most of you will know if they play DPS or anything. It happens perfectly here. If a monk gets Crater Caned, he is still able to, like, in the second he's about to get Crater Caned, he's still able to move, and he will dodge away. If this ever happens, the monk is still here. He did not move away, even though it looks like it, this monk is still here. So, just make sure you inform your party. I usually say hit on the crown or hit on top of me, the monk is still here. Then your party knows they need to damage on this point. If the monk is not air compressed or knocked in any way, he will, after roughly 5 to 10 seconds, he will actually move to the location he was on, which happened in this case since nobody knocked or moved the monk in any way. Once again, pretty easy, just call for silence and keep your CC rotation up, even though something went wrong. Just always be focused and call your CC. Also good example, somebody ghost pulling. What do you do? Kirito does it correct. Somebody ghost pulls. He taunts the highest damage mob. And you want to tell him to just follow you. Whenever somebody ghost pulls, just tell them to follow you. That way you still do the pull correctly. And yeah, you don't have to leash for no reason. Whenever somebody ghost pulls, tell them to follow you. Taunt the mob that you can taunt. So that way you regain aggro. Once again, boring. Normal pull, boring. Actually, not that boring. This is 90% of pulls. We already had it before, but you have 3 ranged mobs, 2 melee mobs. Melee mobs move insanely quick, especially warriors, and ranged mobs also move fairly quick. So in order to clump them up, you always just want to ring down, taunt, and run as fast as possible. For almost 90% of the pulls, the further you run back, like the further you give them space to run, the more they will clump. So by Kirito putting down his ring really close to this, they stay destacked. They stay like this because they don't have much time to run towards you. They don't have much time to walk in the middle and clump up more. So if instead Kirito would have put down his ring like back here, then taunted and then jumped back, he could have clumped the pull a lot quicker and better than it is now. Because once again, it's the same player. We have this Xenu guy on Frost who always just stands so far away from the pull. He cannot hit these mobs. So you see all of these mobs here in the beginning already died. But those 2 mobs back here, they're still alive. And it just wastes so much unnecessary time. Just because Kirito didn't want to pull a bit further back. A lot of time could have been saved. And nothing would have casted. I don't know if it's a one-hand arcane issue because we're not using comms. But either the calls are too late or the one-hand arcane is just really bad at the game. If you ever have a one-hand arcane and you realize this one-hand arcane sucks and he doesn't know what to do, just tell or just call for the arcane sooner. it's okay if you call 3 seconds before your stun would actually run out, as long as there is a silence and there is a Guardian Armor. It's way more important, because pulls die quickly anyways, especially in 20 mans. It's not that important to min-max the exact CC duration and be as efficient as possible. Rather be safe and don't have any mistake happen, but not min-max the CC duration. Boring pulls, we had all of those. Ah, perfect. We have a special pull that you'll have in rare occasions, where you have range mobs relatively close to you, and you also have melee mobs, the spearmans to the west and south here, that move insanely slow. Once again, you want to taunt the mages, give them a long time, and wait for the melee mobs to clump up. I usually wait for my Creator Cane here. If you do not wait for your Creator Cane here, that is fine. Okay, or not. He could have just here, he could have went in, dodged the spearman or spear throw, and then stun afterwards. He still has a decent amount of time on the Creator Cane. He could have just went in, stunned, and air compressed in the middle. What the issue was here is that his ring was too close to the mages, so he aggroed both spearmans, which you really don't want to do. Make sure you pull this pull a little bit further back, so that you're not too close, yeah, like he does here, so that you're not too close to the spearman. Interesting. If you ever see your arcane not using your arcane, for whatever reason, because it's on cooldown or he died, stun. It's fine here if you stun and you don't have a Creator Cane, or you have 2 CCs, like a Creator Cane uses it and you use your stun. That is fine, but it is better than not having anything and have people die to it. Like, it's loving. He dies for no reason. Kirito could have just stunned when he saw his Creator Cane was not reacting to him. And that's it. Spearman jumps, make sure you call for early silence, because if your silence uses his E now on the priestess, you silence the spearman and the wizards. Even though your stun was not gonna run out, you would have silenced the spearman, and he would have not done things. We kind of, for some reason, didn't jump, but whatever. Boring. Boring. Probably dust boss, right? Yeah. Don't care. Boring. Ha, perfect. We have Priestess. Priestess, insanely long auto attack range. You need to walk really far. But we also have monks. Really quick movers. They move instantly. They also cast a spell if they're being attacked before arcane. So here it's really important that let's see what he does. Okay, he did it wrong. What you want to do here, they're already pretty much clumped, and monks are also quick movers. You could have just put a ring down around here instead, but you need to be really quick. So Kirito here, he puts down a ring early, he wastes a lot of time by walking to the priestess. He doesn't use shoes immediately, so the priestess is just AFK, because she's still in his auto attack range, and it just doesn't clump well. So yeah, always, yes,
Sebi,
yes,
sorry to interrupt.
yes, go ahead.
Why not pull from the side?
Why pull from the side?
No, why not?
Why not pull from the side? They don't clump up much more. So you see, if you put a ring down about here, those monks will walk straight towards you, so they will run in a line like this.
Correct.
You see? So they would both walk in a line like this and basically be right in the middle where the priestess is. The priestess is gonna walk a straight line to here, and the monks are gonna walk a line like this, so they will clump up. If you go from the side, you basically do the exact same thing. The monks are gonna walk a straight line towards you, and the priestess is gonna do the same thing, but you know, there was no need to. There was no need to. Clumps up the same way.
I was saying straight from the side.
What do you mean? Wait, you mean?
I usually ring pull that.
So
I don't even taunt. I just do a ring that lands on top of one of the.
So you pull from here.
The
you
monks.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. If you draw a line that passes through the 3 of them, I pull from within that line as well, to the side.
Okay.
I just drop a ring.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
furthest away comes
Yeah.
closer, and they are pretty much clumped.
Yes, but I have never done it. Don't you aggro the mobs that are on top here? The spearments?
No, you just need to tell everyone else to stay further down.
No, I'm saying like just because your ring aggros this monk
Mm-hmm.
at this location, I like I've never tried it, so I can't tell, but I would say it aggros the mobs on top of here. But
I don't
anyways,
think
once again,
that's
we don't need to
or
talk. We don't need
or
to talk
maybe I'm
about
thinking
exact
it wrong.
pulls.
Yeah.
It does not really matter here. It's super easy if you just ring close, taunt, jump back, and it's clumped. I will never care how you do a single pull. I don't give a shit if you do this pull by kicking your main heal from party and executing him. I don't give a shit how you do this pull. As long as what you do works and I don't have to deal with issue tickets, I don't give a single shit how you do any pull. I'm just here to tell you the basics and how most pulls are approached by and how you need to approach pulls in your head. How you need to think about what which mob does. So here, perfect example, Kirito does not realize, okay, Priestess, long auto attack range mob, I need to be quick. Instead, Kirito just walks, the Priestess doesn't give a shit because she's still in auto attack range, and he cannot catch her. Or he does, but way too late because he just didn't use shoes. This also, he didn't have to leash, he could have stunned, and monks can be air compressed, so he could have air compressed them back onto the Priestess, and he would have been fine. But, well, he can also leash, I guess. Ah, perfect, he does the pull. Because of the rotating Priestess. Yeah, this room has a rotating Priestess. She's really annoying because she's fucking slow. Don't really pay attention to her. But if she ever is at this pull, just use her. And then, yeah, you can just go straight. Oh, it's okay, clumped. You can call for Ofting to air compress in the middle between the priestesses, especially now since the Realm Breaker fucked it up even more. Make sure you call for an air compress, and then you can just silence it. It's the same thing over and over, but the silence is bad. Big mistake here. You have two melee mobs. Both of these melee mobs, they don't immediately move. It's the same thing. So what Kirito should have done here is he taunts the spearman, and he does nothing. Those spearmen, they won't move yet. The priestess also won't move yet. So he could have just aggroed and stood still for 2 seconds. After those 2 seconds, put down a ring right at the spearman's feet. Then jump back with shoes. Both the spearmen on top here, and the priestess would have walked in. Like, this is what you always have to think about in pulls. What does mob do? How big is his auto attack range? What do I do if I aggro them? Kirito, he puts down a ring way too far back. The spearmen, they waste a lot of time because they don't immediately move, and the ring disappears before they would actually clump up. This is still decent enough, but you know, it's so much like you have to waste an air compress now. Kirito also stuns too late. Terrific goes south. If instead he could have just put down the proper ring, and it was all chill. Boring pull, but actually, here you have 3 range mobs, but they are not the same. Wizards have a way shorter auto attack range than the priestess does, so it's really important that you ring here, because the wizard would never clump up with the priestess simply because of how different their auto attack range is. So by ringing here and walking far back, you actually clump them up properly. Even though it's all range mobs, they don't do the same thing. They have different auto attack ranges, they have different spells. They're not the same, unlike, for example, a knight and spearmans, who both move slowly. Boring. Kirito sometimes does things and sometimes doesn't. So here again, somebody ghost pulls. Instead of leashing it now and wasting time, you should have just taunted this knight and then jumped to the range mobs. Here, obviously, I mean, it's pretty obvious what we do. We have 1 melee mob, we have 2 range mobs. So obviously we want to bring the melee mob to the range mobs, and we can just walk it in. None of these mobs has any special knockback, none of these mobs has any high damage ability or anything. It's really simple. Just bring melee mob to ranged mob. we'll skip over these because they're all boring. On these monks, like a lot of people do it differently. There's like 100 ways you can do. It's just important you aggro both of them, and you press your soul shamblet, you walk to any corner. You don't really have to go that far though, and you just drop an arcane. What you should have done here is just walk into this like north position where my mouse is, and this monk would have moved towards him and they would have been clumped. You don't have to run into a corner, you just have to walk to any wall where they can clump up. They will always walk straight towards you, there's no need to go to any corner. As long as you walk into either north, east, west or south and you walk further, they will all just run right towards you and stand still right on top of you and clump up. Next pull, boring, often goes in air compress, easy, nothing special. Next pull also boring. Let's go to final, which is difficult for anybody that has never done it. Hello. Please start. Alright, you always want to start off with your enigmatic to go in, so you can generate aggro simply by using a beam. You will take over by walking to the other side and taunting, and that's it for the start. Look, okay, what do people do wrong here? The boss has a shit ton of damage. This enigmatic on the opposite side will die if you do not use a defensive, and it's an 8.3 dungeon. So make sure whenever you start this, he starts it, you call for defensive. This defensive can also be your own E, it doesn't have to be Black Monk or off tank or whatever. Just drop down your own E, but make sure you defend it. He also does a big mistake here, he walks too far away from the boss. The boss generates, or the boss aggros to the person closest to him the most. So the closer you and the closer your enigmatic are to the boss, the more they will take aggro. Yeah, you see it here. He's way too far, boss turns around, slams the party or hits the party instead. Now he walks close and it's fine. Kirito takes over with a taunt and positions himself close to the boss, so that way he takes over aggro and keeps it as well. I'm not gonna talk about like the swings or anything, how many are required. You can read that in the Raid Leader Central Knowledge part of the Discord. It's a thread where you can read everything about bosses. I think it also has the exact boss rotation written down. Also the boss rotation can be altered, so you don't have to do the exact same rotation that I do. You can do special variations that are better and worse for certain reasons. What is important, after a certain amount of auto attacks, he will do his first slam into the party. Make sure you always have a defensive on it, either Black Monk or off tank. He will slam, everything is fine. The boss will start doing swords once he lost his first bar. Once again, we cannot really see the bars on this recording, but there are bars. Once the first bar is down, he will start calling for swords, which is about now, I think, if I see correctly. Could be wrong. Yeah, just silence whenever the first bar goes down and call for a defensive. Okay, I was too early. It's probably like now. Yep. He silences, he calls for defensive, swords happen. Now is the difficult part. You have to keep 2 tracks of certain things. You have the swords and you have the swings for the slam. The swords always happen after 8 auto attacks. The moment the swords shoot out, those 8 auto attacks start. So you see, the swords happen. Wait. Swords happen now, but he also already auto attacks. Do not count for swords now. Listen, swords happen, still don't count. Still don't count. Now the swords shoot out to the sides. Now you need to start counting 8 auto attacks for the swords again. What do I mean by auto attacks? Auto attacks, I mean, this is 1 auto attack, this is 2 auto attacks, this is 3 auto attacks, this is 4, 5, 6, and swords happen again. Some people do 6 auto attacks, some people do 7 or 8. I do 7. Kirito seems to do 6. Yeah, yeah, you either silence on 6 auto attacks, 7 auto attacks, or 8 auto attacks, and then the next swords will happen. But once again, the swords always start now when they shoot out to the side. Now it's 1, 2 autos, 3, 4 autos, and he didn't auto here, really important, he only talked. Now it's 5, 6 autos, and now it's 7 and 8. Kirito silences, now swords are gonna happen. Here is where it becomes tricky. Yes, swords is always after 7 or 8 auto attacks. Slam is not. Even if he doesn't auto attack because he's silenced, you still have to continue counting auto attacks for slams. So I'm gonna explain. When we have okay, here he's silenced. He still continues to count for auto attacks. He does not do an auto attack right now, but he still has to continue counting. You need to continue counting 8 swords, 8 attacks for for swords, and you need to count 8 attacks for slam. He's gonna slam now. Yep. Alright, now the slam counter starts again, immediately. This is 1, 2 for slam, 3, 4 for slam, 5, 6 for slam, and now he's silenced. But even if he's silenced, you continue to count for slams. So now he would do 7 and 8 for slams, which means immediately after the silence ends, he will do a slam. And swords, probably. No, okay, perfect. He does a slam, 8 auto attacks were done. Now, he was silenced, he didn't continue counting for swords. Now, this is the 7th auto attack for swords, and this is the 8th auto attack for swords. Now he will cast swords. Oh no, he actually did already. We do the rotation differently, so I don't really know how he does it. But yeah, swords, he also thought swords would happen only now, but they already happened. I know this is confusing, and it's even gonna be harder when you have to give callouts when it comes to off-tank and Black Monk, but you also have to keep 2 different auto-attack rotations in your head. It's never gonna be easy, but this is why I never tell, especially newer raid leaders, to skip any bosses. You just have to get used to this. I did this 1,000 times. Who do you think is gonna be better? Me, who did it 1,000 times, or you, who did it 0 times? I could do this in my sleep, because I did it so fucking often, that it's just become normal to me. Yes, you will have people die, and yes, there will be things that go wrong. It doesn't matter. What is important is that you call for defensives. Maybe you missed your fucking silence and you dropped it too early. Maybe you lost rotation. It's okay. Just call for defensives. The defensives have fairly low cooldown. You can just throw them in for anything. But what is important is that you don't neglect learning. Even though, yes, I use my defensive wrong, and yes, I can just spam defenses on cooldown, try to learn, try to get better. Don't just do dungeons, learn in dungeons. It's okay if you do a pull wrong, and it went fucking south because you tried something, but at least you tried something. Don't just be like every other raid leader that doesn't give a single shit on how he does things. Try to be a raid leader that does things correctly and nice and in its own special way. So many pulls I do, nobody else does. But because I simply like them. I like the way they work, I like the way it's done. It's all about, I guess, building up a personality as a raid leader, and not just being a copycat of what everybody else is, and quitting after 5 dungeons because you became depressed because you still cannot call for final defensives correctly. Instead, say, yo Sebi, can you review my final boss? I need help. I don't know how to fuck I call for defenses, I don't know what I do wrong. Just ask. Always ask for help, always ask for things, and always try to improve by yourself, and don't just give up after 5 dungeons because you are too stupid to call for defenses on a boss that you've only done 5 times now. That people who do it 500 times still cannot call for until today. Alright, anyways, half HP, it's HP cut. Now the boss will always do the same rotation. We'll just go over it, since it happens anyways. He does a beam. Alright, perfect. Beam, I usually use my own E. Make sure you defend it. I see a lot of people in 8.3 said don't defend beams. Make sure you defend them. It can be your own E, it can be the Black Monk E, it can be the off-tank, whatever. But at least have it defended with 40%. Nobody can die if that happens. beam is over. Now, first auto attack, second auto attack, make sure you silence. He will do swords. Now, he will do another one auto attack, two auto attacks. You can silence if you like to. I like not silencing. Now he will do reflect. Awesome. I think it's defended. Yeah, there's an E on. Perfect. Now, once again, one auto attack, two auto attacks, silence, and swords happen. Awesome. Now, swords, remember, now they shoot out to the side. Now my counting begins. One auto attack, two auto attacks, three auto attacks, four auto attacks. Now you chop defenses down again. Awesome. Now, it's gonna be beam. You can silence here, I do it as well. And now he's gonna beam. It is always the same. Once again, we'll go over it. Beam ends. One auto attack, two auto attacks, swords. Same thing happens again. Swords happen. One auto attack, two auto attacks, reflect. Awesome. Why? Let me skip this one. He did something special here. Does he always do this? Okay, let's see. Alright, beam. Cool. Once again, one auto attacks, two auto attacks, swords. One auto attack, two auto attacks, reflect. Okay, Kirito of force beam, I see. This is something you can do. Otherwise, he would just do one auto attack, two auto attacks, or you force the beam on top of yourself. Make sure you also call for a defensive and an enigmatic. This is fine, you can do this after reflect. It's a decent method. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to use it. Alright, now it's gonna do one auto attacks, two auto attacks in two swords. And I guess he does another beam now. I've never done the rotation myself. Yeah, another beam now. Perfect. Yeah, you can do this rotation if you want to. It's decent. Now one auto attack, two auto attack swords, one auto attack, two auto attacks reflect, one auto attack, two auto attack swords, then he has the four auto attacks until next swords, and then you beam if you do the normal rotation. This is second phase. Second phase is super easy compared to first phase because you will always do the same thing over and over. There will never be anything special happening in second phase unless somebody dies to a beam. Then something goes wrong and he will actually change the rotation. But if nothing goes wrong, your silences are on point always when he's about to do a ability. Yeah, this will always be the same. The difficult part is the first phase, where you constantly need to keep track of two different rotations. But once again, it will happen over time. And yeah, that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I would like to ask you something.
Yes.
So, Sevi, when was the last time that you incorporated or adopted